What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this Powermate generator, and the problem is it hasn't been used in a couple of years and now it won't start. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this generator. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. Generators are great for backup power during outages, and depending on how powerful it is, it should provide enough power to keep your food from spoiling and enough left over for lights and fans. To run a central heat and air, you might want to run a dedicated generator just for that. However, if you don't run them periodically, it might not start for you. That seems to be the situation here. This generator was last ran years ago, so more than likely the carburetor will be clogged, and if there's any gas in it, it's probably not usable. Before we try and start it, always check the oil. If we do happen to start the engine, we don't want to damage it if the oil is low. This engine is full of oil, so we're okay to try and start it. Now there's still some gas in it, so turn on the gas valve, choke the carburetor, and make sure it's turned on, and let's see what happens when we try and start it. So it didn't start on the gas from the tank, so I'm going to remove the filter cover and spray some starter fluid in the carburetor's throat to help it get started. So our first problem though is the bottom screw is seized to its insert, and the insert is now spinning in its housing. This isn't a big problem though, because there's enough give that we can work around this issue. So it still died, even manually priming it with starter fluid. That means that the carburetor is definitely clogged, and we're going to have to remove it and service it. I almost forgot, I need to drain some of the gas from the carburetor's bowl so I can see the gasoline's condition. I'll be looking for water contamination or old stale gas. So the gas is not supposed to be this color, and that would be a second reason why the generator won't start. I'm going to have to drain all the gas from the tank, and luckily there is a splice in the line that I can attach my hose to. While the fuel line is off, I want to fill the line with some fresh gas and see if we can try starting the engine with it. That way we can avoid taking the carburetor off and saving some work. Now if it doesn't start, I'll prime it manually and try again, and if it still doesn't start, I'll continue removing the carburetor. Another reason why your generator may not be starting is that it may not be getting any spark. Now to test for spark, remove the spark plug and connect the wire back to it, and let the metal part of the plug touch the valve cover. Then pull the rope and watch for spark at the end of the spark plug. If you still don't have spark, test to make sure that the on-off switch is working by disconnecting one of the wires off the switch. If you still don't have spark, then you might want to replace your ignition coil. Once the carburetor is off the engine, remove the bowl nut followed by the bowl itself, and then remove the jet and the emulsion tube. Now we need to clear all the holes in the emulsion tube with a small diameter wire followed by some carburetor cleaner. This is the fuel jet, and as you can see, it's blocked so you can't see through it. I'll use the same small wire as before to clear it, followed by some carburetor cleaner. After that, check that it's cleared, and then we can move on to the carburetor bowl. After everything has been cleaned, I'll reinstall the emulsion tube, the fuel jet, and the bowl. I'm not going to take the float and needle out because of the condition of the bowl. There wasn't any corrosion in it, and there was plenty of fuel in the bowl, so the needle was working fine. I wouldn't blame anybody if they diagnosed the problem down to the carburetor and just decided to replace it instead of servicing it. After the carburetor is back together, I'll reinstall it onto the engine. Just as a test, I'm not going to replace the filter assembly just yet until I know it's working. I'll put some gas into the fuel hose leading to the carburetor, and I'll try starting it again. Okay, it started and ran, and it sounds pretty good. Now, I didn't test it on camera, but I did put a 500 watt light on all the outlets to test it and make sure that they were working, and luckily they were. Now that I know the generator is working, I'll put the air filter assembly back onto the engine. Don't forget there is a metal plate that goes over the studs before you put the nuts on them. Now, I'm not worried about the spinning insert on the filter cover. From a previous experience on a backpack blower, trying to fix the same problem can be a huge hassle, and for me, it's simply not worth it. In the future, I would suggest using only non-ethanol gasoline with any sort of stabilizer. Just take your pick. If you can't get non-ethanol gasoline in your area, I would highly suggest using the stabilizer then. I would also make a run and testing routine to follow throughout the whole year. Doing it more often the better. 4 times a year is probably the minimal I would do, and if you wanted to run it every weekend, go right ahead. As for the run time, I would say 10 minutes is more than enough. It's up to you if you want to either keep your tank full of gas or empty. It really depends on how they're stored. For more information, please do some research online about what will work best for your situation. As for me, I usually keep my tanks empty, and when I test run my generators, I run it off a little separate tank of gasoline connected to the carburetor. That way I can keep the main tank dry. The other suggestion is to only put a small amount of gas in the tank and then run it till the tank and the lines are dry. Now, if you bought a generator new and never took it out of the box, leave it there. Until you need it, just remember to put oil in it before you start it. So my question is, how do you store your generator? Do you keep your generator in a shed or a garage, or do you keep it outside, covered or uncovered? Also, do you keep gas in the tank, or is it empty? Now, I already told you what I do, but I'd like to hear about what you do. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I hope to see you in my next video.